Hey everybody, it's Monday morning, and today, rather than vlogging, I'm going to show you the Scribbles That Matter, their new kind of planner system situation that they have. Where is it? Right here. I got it a couple days ago. I was really worried that I would love it and feel regret that I already set up my bullet journal for 2020 in the Leuchtturm, but as you're going to see, I'm not really regretting that anymore. I'm looking at the computer here. The Scribbles That Matter stuff's available on Amazon. I'm not sure if it's available everywhere yet, but on American Amazon at least, there are inserts. There's 4 different kinds. There's their bullet planner, their black out style planner, which they call Starry Night, and then there's 2 different dot grid inserts. One of them is the original paper they used to have, the 100 GSM, and one of them is the more similar to Archer and Olive paper that they had in the current bound books, which is 160 GSM. I said in my previous bullet journal video that 160 GSM paper makes me kind of a sad panda, so I ordered the 100 GSM paper and one of the covers. Each of the inserts is about the size of an original notebook. They're each $19.97. It's like 20 bucks for the inserts, and then an additional $17.97 for the cover. So it winds up costing about $20 more than it used to cost for just the notebooks. I believe the notebooks used to be 20 bucks. Covers come with multiple different colors, and they're all very familiar colors if you used to get Scribbles That Matter. I was originally going to get the white. That was one of my favorite Scribbles That Matters I ever used, but I wound up getting like the magenta kind of, what color is it? I think that's the regular pink, because it's really pretty. And I've had that one before too, at least in the old notebooks. Here is the whole situation put together. I already did this. I'll take it apart in a second, but I wanted to show you what it looks like, you know, in its original habitat. And just for comparison's sake, I'm going to grab one of my old Scribbles That Matter notebooks so you can kind of see what it looks like compared to a bound Scribbles That Matter, their old style of notebooks. And this is actually basically, I think, the same color scheme. They're not exactly the same color, but it's like similar with the pink and the purple. These are them like next to each other. The cover is a little bit bigger than the A5 size, but they're very similar in size. I will tell you though, there is already one thing about this that I'm not in love with, and that is the feel of it. Now, this cover itself is like a fake leathery situation, and it feels very satisfying to like stroke or whatever. But it there's like a difference. And I was trying to explain this to my patrons. We were talking about it, like a weightiness or a like solidarity, a substantialness that you get with this like bound style of notebook. And this feels a little bit less sturdy. Now, if you're somebody who's into traveler's notebooks and things like that, that probably won't bother you. But for me, I like that feeling of permanence. That's why I like bound planners. That's why I like coil bound planners. That's why I don't use discs or rings. I like things to feel permanent. And this just doesn't. The other thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's just how I put it together, but like, I'm having a lot of trouble keeping the cover lined up. Like, it keeps wanting the front part of the cover to scooch forward just a little bit, and so I keep like kind of pushing on it, and I'm imagining once it's broken in it probably will be that way, but I'm struggling with that anyway. So yeah, that's one of the first things for me that is a reason I would not use this, is it just doesn't have that same like good feeling, and I'm a very tactile person, so that is probably why that bothers me so much. So you open it up, and it does indeed lie flat, which is a great thing. You know, you just guys give it a little bit of a smooth. Now, one of the additions to the inside, because this is a sewn cover, is that there is a pocket here, like a big, deep, like secretarial pocket, and then 3 little business card size pockets that could also work for tiny sheets of stickers. And then on the back here, you've got a pen loop sewn to the actual cover. You've got your strap, which is just as good as the old straps. And then the bookmarks are actually attached to the cover, not the notebook. So all of those extra bits and pieces are attached to the cover. And then you slide the notebook in on either end, like right here. Now I'm gonna take the notebook out because that's basically the cover. And I will say, trying to get this in was really difficult for me. It took quite a bit of work to get it in, but since it's such a fat notebook, I would imagine it's not like you're gonna take it out very often. But this is the cover on its own. It's wide here in the middle. I bet you could probably put a thicker book than this if you really wanted to. I'm not really sure how thick, but probably thicker than that. It just might make these edges kind of not come all the way to the end of it. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. Like, personally, not my thing. It's well made. The stitching is nice. The color is nice. It feels nice. It feels flimsy. Not in like a cheap way, but just in a like not permanent kind of way. Here is the notebook. When you order on Amazon, really double check what you're ordering, because it was difficult for me at first to figure it out. The way that the listings are, it wasn't immediately clear which one it was, and I almost ordered the bullet planner, and that would have been a hot fucking mess. The actual notebook insert itself has like chipboard covers. Like, you could almost use this on its own, and I'd almost be willing to just use this on its own, because this on its own has that like nice weighty feel to it just without the protective cover. So, you know, who knows? I was talking about maybe painting it with like enamel paint or something to give it a little bit more hardness and protectiveness. But the cover is chipboard and very sturdy. And then this is a fabric binding right here. And then the book itself is sewn into little like individual booklet section. Like, you know, it's the way it was made before. So it makes it really sturdy, makes it lie flat. There's the stitching down the center, very well constructed. I got the dot grid version, the A5 dot grid, which has a really big dot grid on the cover. When you open it up, Scribbles That Matter A5 dot journal. The following scribbles belong to, and then date journal started, date journal ended. When you open it, you have a spot for a key and a color code. And then you have the index pages, scribbles of, and then pages, and you have 3 full index pages already drawn in. And this was the lettering that they used in the bullet planner. I imagine that's what it's in the current bullet planner as well. And it's kind of a soft, like gray green. And then the dots themselves are like a lightish gray green. Like, it's very light. I've always loved the dots on their page. And the dot in the center is actually a plus sign. And then on either end is a minus sign for the middle, like so that you can center it. At a glance, you can't tell what it is. When you look closer, it'll help you like center things, which I think is a nice touch. And the pages are already numbered. The numbers start with the key page. They don't start with the dot grid, which is different than the Leuchtturm. I noticed that the Leuchtturm has the index and then the page numbers start. 205 total pages, including the key, the indexes, and the pen test page. And then on the back, there's 206 pages on like a piece of cardstock, and it is a mindfulness page to look back through your notebook and reflect on everything you've written. And that's the whole journal. It's just a nice dot grid. The pages are off-white, the same as they used to be. This is the 100 GSM paper, so not the super thick paper that they've been doing, which is so good because I really I'm just over the super thick paper. But this paper feels to the touch exactly the same as the old notebook paper. And I had heard that there was some shitty paper in between this paper and the 160 GSM. This paper feels exactly the same. It has the same like off-white to it, which is a little bit less yellow than the Leuchtturm. And I feel like the only real difference maybe is that this is a little bit greener gray and this is a little bit grayer green. But again, not very obvious changes, and like the fonts and shit are different, but the paper feels great. And that's, I think, why I'm so bummed out, because I don't like the covers. If the cover was something that I would be more down on, like if it was just a permanent notebook, I understand why they're doing this. They're doing this because they had so many people bitching that they wanted this kind of paper back, and I was one of them. But then they also had people bitching that they wanted to keep the thicker paper, and then there was the bullet planner. So this is their way to cope with that. And I hope that it works out. I'm just not a big fan of it, which is too bad. But I may hang on to this notebook just to use, or I may give this away during book club. Probably will give it away during book club. I don't need all these things. But now I'm going to pen test, and I've got a ballpoint pen. It's an Erin Condren ballpoint pen. I have a Pitt Artist Pen fine liner, a mild liner highlighter, and a Tombow dual brush pen. So looking at this, the paper is performing really well. A little bit of shadowing with all of them, but there's a ridging with the ballpoint, the gel pen. Did I even use a gel pen? Maybe that's why I'm having some trouble here. Hold, please. I was trying to be all prepared by having my pens ready to go, and I forgot one of them. Gel. It's the Pilot G2. Now let's look. All right, so none of them are bleeding through. The gel and the ballpoint both leave ridge. The fine liner doesn't leave a ridge, but they all shadow. None of them bleed, and none of them even shadow that badly. So this paper is still the really nice paper that they used to have. As an example, I will pull out this one again because I did do some different pen testing here, and you could just see some different colors and markers. On the back, the biggest issue I ran into was with these are the Paper Mate liquid flares, so those bled through, but everything else was shadowing. So yeah, I'm excited that they brought this back. I think the price it's understandable, I guess, for the cover versus the notebook. What I really dislike is that the cover, and then it's almost double the price as the standard notebook was for this cover, and that's a bummer for me. Like, I know when companies like to market that, you know, but if you buy this, then you can keep reusing this and just refilling the notebook inserts. But I also know that there are so many people like me in the planner community who, when we are done with a notebook, we want a new notebook with a new cover. And so that just basically means doubling the cost each time you replace the notebook. That bums me out. I do love that there's an option for people who love this paper. And if I can get over it enough to use this cover, maybe I'll go back to this at some point. But for now, I'm going to set it aside, potentially give this away during book club. And I'd love to know your thoughts on it in the comments below. I went through, I think, 5 maybe Scribbles That Matter notebooks in the past. They were my first bullet journal, my second bullet journal, a lot of my bullet journals, and I'm a little sad that this is not going to be something that might work for me, but at the same time, I'm hopeful that sooner or later they'll come out with an option that I'm excited about. Tell me your comments in the description below, and at the same time, if you are using a bullet journal this next year, what notebook are you using? Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Hasta la vista, babies.